to talk about Amanda the Adventurer today, okay? Okay. Hi, I'm nervous, and while I could do a whole deep dive into the history of Amanda the Adventurer, and that was the original plan for this video, I've changed my mind because I'm promising to be mindful of my mental health this month instead of overworking myself. I invite you to also practice November with me by being kind to your brain and giving yourself permission to practice self-care. Okay, all of that aside, I love the world and gameplay of Amanda the Adventurer, mainly due to its environmental storytelling and analog horror elements. But what inspired today's video is a single newspaper clipping about a stolen crown you can find by flipping over the news story about Sam Colton's disappearance in Amanda the Adventurer 1. Researching this video, however, took me down such an unexpected path, multiple unexpected paths. It's a lot, and we'll get there when we get there. But for now, if you don't know who Sam is, or if you just need a rundown of everything that's happened so far in the franchise, I've linked videos down below I think do a good job of breaking it all down. I'll give a brief overview before diving into today's theory, but there are a lot of little details that may not be discussed in this video. Very simply put, Amanda the Adventurer is a story about Rebecca and Sam Colton, a company named Hamlin, a librarian named Kate, and her niece Riley. There are other characters, but for today, these are our main players. Sam adopted Rebecca, and together they worked on a live-action public access television show called Amanda the Adventurer, where Rebecca played Amanda. Kate, one of the local librarians, supported the two and promoted their show at the local library. Hamlin approached Sam about turning the show into an animated show in the vein of Dora the Explorer, wherein Rebecca would still voice the Amanda character. Sam and Kate became suspicious of Hamlin when Rebecca was being made to record concerning voice lines. Hamlin then managed to make Sam disappear, took custody of Rebecca, and after Kate got too close while investigating, it seems she was involved in a car accident of some kind. All the while, the company was able to somehow transfer Rebecca into the TV show, where she is now trapped playing the character of Amanda, and the show seems to be causing the disappearance of other children. Over time, Rebecca becomes resistant to Hamlin's control and begins attempting to contact people through the TV to help her escape. In Kate's will, she left her home to her niece Riley, who we play as in the games Amanda the Adventurer 1 and 2, continuing to investigate the strange show. Another thing worth noting is upsetting Amanda too much while watching the tapes seems to summon a demon-like monster who resembles Amanda to attack the player. So, what does any of this have to do with a newspaper clipping about a stolen crown? Well, let's read.
Reports of a break-in at the Irish Celtic History Museum had the country in a stir. While no injuries were reported, a few key pieces of Celtic history that were displayed in the museum have been stolen, one of which is the ancient piece of Celtic history, the Crown of the Stag. The piece was said to have belonged to the O'Connells. Legend states the crown was a symbol of peace between the O'Connells and the Fey people during an intense and bloody war between the two. Little is known about the current whereabouts of the crown as well as the individual responsible for the crime. However, Irish police has suspected it may have been committed by Karen O'Nock, as she has had a hand in multiple different crimes across the country with her gang, the Demons.
Now, funnily enough, Googling the Crown of the Stag will bring you to this game, Clan O'Connell and the Crown of the Stag, about a family tracking down the stolen crown. This game focuses heavily on Celtic folklore and even states the crown was stolen by the Mother of Demons. Now, publishers of both Amanda the Adventurer, Mingled Maw, and O'Connell, Hit Grab, are based in Canada. So at this point, I began to wonder if the studios know each other or have some level of crossover with employees, and this is just a nod to that game, an Easter egg. If it is simply a reference, that would make plenty of sense, But if we break down some of the Celtic folklore associated with the crown, a few things stand out. As we read, this isn't just any family crown, it's one of Celtic significance, a symbol of peace during a war between an Irish family and the Fae. Now, in Celtic folklore, the Fae encompass a number of mythical beings, some who even have a proclivity towards stealing children and replacing them with a monster. The article also calls out a gang called the Demons, which strikes me as interesting considering we learn in Amanda the Adventurer 2 that the people behind Hamlin are heavily associated with demonic symbols and are attempting to revive a cult that has ties dating back to the Middle Ages.
They seem to connect it to the cult. And based on what we have, I'm convinced that this is the latest iteration of the one Caroline's family's been tracking for generations.
The information we already have about the group ties it back to a religion that hasn't been practiced publicly in damn years.
We're saying that this production company has been around since the Middle Ages?
And if that wasn't enough, in the first game, there are a list of symbols associated with different colors of flowers that can be grown in this pot. Upon closer inspection, we'll see that they are alchemy symbols for each planet. So now we have traces of Celtic witchcraft and nods to alchemy, or at least planetary significance, within this franchise. The first time I put all of this together, I was reminded of a movie wherein a powerful warlock combined modern, for the time, technology and Celtic witchcraft to target children
To carry out a ritual during Samhain, when the planets were all aligned.
The movie, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. And it is worth mentioning that Hamlin is referred to as a wizard in Amanda the Adventurer 2. Just pointing it out. In this movie, a man running a toy company markets Halloween masks to children, telling them to watch their TVs at a specific time on Halloween night, wearing the masks to have a chance to win a prize. He is secretly a powerful warlock who has stolen a piece of Stonehenge to use its magical properties to target children wearing the masks, killing them by filling their heads with bugs and snakes. Why? Well, because the planets dictate it. Look, quite frankly, they don't spend a lot of time explaining it.
I conquer. Why? Do I need a reason?
But the warlock feels it is his duty to honor Samhain by carrying out this ritual.
Now, there is probably a much more logical way to come to the conclusions I've reached today, but the connections between Celtic witchcraft and Amanda the Adventurer has always stuck with me, and it makes me wonder if Hamlin's goal was to carry out a specific ritual to fulfill some requirement of their cult. And interestingly enough, there is a demon named Moloch who is known for child sacrifice, and there are stories surrounding a cult associated with Moloch existing.
Though I can only find record of this cult existing in Israel and not in the Middle Ages. Though I did find this article referencing images of Moloch persisting until the medieval times.
With that in mind, it seems clear the game is trying to keep us looking at the real German town of Hamlin and its story of the Pied Piper, a story that emerged in the Middle Ages and one that speaks of a wondrous portal opening in a mountainside. And very briefly, if you don't know, the Pied Piper is a story about, well, a Pied Piper and a town who is dealing with an awful rat infestation. The Pied Piper says that he can get rid of the rats as long as the town agrees to pay him fairly. They agree. He gets rid of all the rats by leading them into the woods using his pipe, and then the town refuses to pay him. So he takes his pipe and Pied Pipers those kids right out of the town, just like he did the rats, and refuses to return them. End of story. Kids get stolen. I mean, come on. And if the name Hamlin as the name of the company and the fact that children are disappearing are not enough connections, there's literally a picture of a rat as their logo and it says, "Follow us to fun." Okay? Like, they're not trying to hide it. This is pretty obvious. And the wondrous portal that I mentioned earlier is where it seems he's trapped the rats and then subsequently all of the children. And of course, that reminds me of the portals we see in the game and the way the children watching the show are vanishing without a trace. Of course, this isn't new information, and like I said, Mangled Mall has done a pretty good job of directing us toward the Pied Piper story, but while in the past we've used the story to try to unravel Hamlin's origins, the game now seems to be suggesting that this literal event actually took place. That being said, there is historical record of children either dying or going missing in Hamlin during the Middle Ages. And not to belabor the point, but while researching, I did find the oldest known depiction of the Pied Piper's story, and when compared to a map shown to us within an episode of Amanda the Adventurer, there are similarities. A forest on one side, a river on the other, and north, the place Amanda says holds the treasure, is the portal the Piper led the children through. And funnily enough, while I was researching this, I found a specific telling of the Pied Piper wherein the Piper sells his soul to none other than the demon Moloch. Granted, it's a TV show, but I thought it was interesting enough to point out. And to address the elephant in the room, the Pied Piper is a German tale, which is objectively not Ireland, so that is a big point against my theory about the cult being of Celtic origin, but assuming they've been around for some time and now they're in America, it's possible they've just moved around throughout the years. This is coping, I'm probably just wrong. So now the questions become, is the Pied Piper the demon? Multiple tellings of the story refer to him as such. Did a cult form around this figure as either a way to protect their own children or believing the sacrifices to be necessary, a part of some greater good? Regardless, I think it's safe to say the rabbit hole of Amanda the Adventurer runs deep. But if I had to guess right now, I would say that Amanda, or rather Rebecca, has been chosen as the new Piper, using an updated method of luring children to the mountain. However, in ways, it seems Hamlin's plan isn't going quite as expected, as Rebecca has begun resisting from within the tapes. Only time will tell if there will be peace for Rebecca or for any of the children who have been trapped on the other side of the portal. Now, the last thing I'll leave you with today is potentially a coincidence, but a strange thing I found while researching for this video that I really feel like I need to share with you. Our player character is named Riley, so I searched Pied Piper Riley just to see what might come up, and I found Sue Spaeth Riley, an author who cared deeply about the development of children and wrote books that were published in the 70s era. She wrote books helping children explore feelings like anger and fear, and even a book called Help, which means I was looking through books she wrote in a list that went angry, afraid, help. But the strangest thing was the book I couldn't find. Children's literature, eluding the modern Pied Piper. Editing nervous here, I did finally figure out why I couldn't find this book, and that's because it's not a book. It's an article from a magazine called Momentum from December of 1977, and try as I might, I could not find a copy of it for this, but because it's probably just a coincidence anyway, I think what's most important is the summary that I did find on ERIC, the Education Resources Information Center. This is the summary of the article Sue Riley wrote about the modern Pied Piper. It is time to cease polluting our human resources by allowing television to take over the rearing of our young. Instead, the stimulation of reading children's literature is recommended. The town Amanda the Adventurer takes place in, Kinsdale, Ohio, has a small library that didn't even have a children's section until they received enough donations to make one.
A major goal of the renovation is to create a special place for your little ones to read and dream. In the very own Kids Corner, with a state-of-the-art activity center and expanded selection for early readers. Now remember, we can't do it without your support.
But based on the timeline of events, it seems Hamlin gets to the town first. By the time of Amanda the Adventurer 2, we see the library mascot is Wooly, a Hamlin character, and there are posters of Amanda and Wooly on the walls suggesting Hamlin may have been the ones who funded the children's section themselves. And what is the main focus of the Kids Corner at the library? A television. Hamlin found a librarian passionate about kids' literacy, a father passionate about the library, and a child who loved them both, and manipulated all of them to install their modern Pied Piper.
So tragic. I love it. Keep going.
At the end of the day, this story, this game, it's about more than just a cult summoning some child-snatching demon. It's about the way modern technology has the capacity to infiltrate our lives in dangerous ways if we're not careful. Being overly trusting of what we see. It can be addicting, and it can even get in the way of our ability to be imaginative and creative, as well as exercising our brains to use our critical thinking skills. I really didn't expect this video to turn into a please go read a book PSA, but a game that takes place in a library makes it hard not to go there. So, yeah, please go read a book. And on that note, I think I will too. Okay, bye.